Jesus Christ of Nazareth, is this not your market? Chioma Ofor, who died 5 years ago in Aba?
What's it?
Yes, my sister, it is me. Tell them I'm okay.
Ngozi Obiago was the kind of woman that made Ariaria Market what it was. Vibrant, loud, and full of life. Her provision shop, called God's Favor Stores, sat at the strategic
Thank you
corner
so
of the
much,
market where
Ngozi.
three
You're
major
very
pathways
welcome.
met. And from morning till night, customers flowed in and out like water. She didn't just sell goods, she solved problems. If a young trader needed stock on credit to start their business, Ngozi would calculate their character with her sharp eyes and either give them a chance or politely refuse. If a mother came crying that she needed milk for her baby but salary had not come, Ngozi would pack the milk, add some custard, and wave away the promise of payment. God has blessed me enough, she would say with that bright smile of hers, her gold tooth catching the light. She had built that business from nothing, starting with a small table in 1995 when Aba was just recovering from the economic troubles. And now, in 2018, she had a 2-story building, air-conditioned offices upstairs, and 12 people working under her. Her husband, Chief Obiago, worked in the oil industry and traveled constantly between Port Harcourt and Lagos, but everyone knew the real money in that family came from Ngozi's trading brain. She had sent her 2 sons, Chike and Emeke, to study engineering in Malaysia, and every December when they came home for Christmas, the whole market would celebrate because Ngozi's joy was infectious. That's why when the news of her death spread through Aba on that terrible November evening in 2018, it felt like the ground had shifted beneath everyone's feet. The fire had started around 8 p.m., they said, when Ngozi was alone in the shop doing her usual end-of-month stock-taking. Witnesses claimed they heard a loud explosion, probably the generator that she kept in the small room behind the store, and by the time people realized what was happening, the flames had swallowed the entire building. The fire service came, but this is Nigeria. Their water tank was half empty, and the nearest fire hydrant had not worked since 2009. They tried their best, spraying what little water they had, while the market women screamed and prayed, and some even tried to rush into the flames before the men held them back. 3 people saw Ngozi at the window upstairs, beating against the glass, her wrapper already on fire, screaming for help that couldn't reach her in time. Mama Chidi, who was Ngozi's closest friend in the market, fainted right there on the street when she heard Ngozi's final screams cut off suddenly as part of the building collapsed inward. By the time the fire died down around midnight, there was nothing left but smoking rubble and twisted metal. They found her body the next morning, burnt beyond recognition, called up in that terrible way fire victims die. But Chief Obiago identified his wife by the bold wedding ring still somehow intact on the blackened finger and a piece of her wrapper that had survived with the distinctive Ankara pattern she'd worn that day. He collapsed right there at the site, and it took 4 men to carry him to the hospital. The burial 3 weeks later was the most elaborate Aba had seen in years. Chief Obiago spared no expense. The casket alone cost over 2 million naira, imported from Italy, he said, with gold handles and white silk lining. The church service at Methodist Cathedral went on for 4 hours, with choirs from 3 different churches, and the governor of Abia State sent his deputy to represent him. Ngozi's sons flew in from Malaysia looking lost and broken, these 2 tall young men who suddenly seemed like small boys again, crying on their father's shoulders. Ariaria Market shut down completely for the burial, and over 5,000 traders marched in the funeral procession wearing matching Ankara fabric with Ngozi's face printed on it. They erected a small memorial plaque at the site of her burnt shop with the inscription, Mama Ariaria, a trader with a heart of gold, 1971-2018, gone but never forgotten. Life continued the way it does after tragedy. Chief Obiago threw himself into work, traveling even more than before. The boys went back to Malaysia to finish their studies, though neighbors said they'd both aged 10 years in those few weeks. Mama Chidi, who had been Ngozi's customer for over 15 years and had become something like a younger sister to her, took over the responsibility of keeping fresh flowers at the memorial every week. The market women would gather there sometimes, especially on Ngozi's birthday or the anniversary of her death, to pour libation and share stories about her generosity. But strange things began to happen. People started reporting that they saw Ngozi in their dreams, not peaceful dreams, but disturbing ones where she looked confused, lost, wondering and asking, "Where are my children? Where is my shop?" Some traders saw they had her voice in the market late at night when they were closing up, calling out prices for goods the way she used to. One woman claimed she saw Ngozi's reflection in the window of the burnt shop, standing there, in her favorite blue wrapper, just staring. The older market women said this meant Ngozi's spirit was restless, that perhaps she had died with unfinished business or unfulfilled promises. They performed several cleansing ceremonies, brought pastors to pray, even consulted a dibia who said Ngozi's chi was wandering between worlds. Gradually, as it happens with grief and superstition, the sharp terror became dull unease. New shops opened in Ariaria, new traders took their places. Life moved forward with its usual indifference to individual loss. By 2023, 5 years after the tragedy, Ngozi Obiago had become part of Ariaria market folklore. The beloved trader whose spirit still watched over Ariaria, whose presence people felt in moments of need, whose story the older traders told the younger ones as both inspiration and warning about the fragility of life. Then came the day that shattered the line between folklore and reality, between memory and impossible truth. Mama Chidi had expanded her own business over the years and now traveled to Ghana regularly to buy bulk goods. Chinese products came cheaper through Tema Port than through Lagos, with all its customs wahala. In August 2023, she went to Kumasi for a major buying trip, spent 3 exhausting days negotiating prices and arranging shipping, and on her last evening, she just wanted a taste of home. Her Ghanaian supplier, Kwame, recommended a Nigerian restaurant in the Adum area. "The woman who owns it makes egusi soup that will remind you of your mother's cooking," he promised. Mama Chidi almost didn't go. She was tired, and her hotel had room service, but something made her change her mind, the way destiny sometimes pulls you towards the very thing you are not looking for. The restaurant was small, but clean, called Naija Flavor, with pictures of Nigerian musicians on the walls and Afrobeat playing from old speakers. About 6 customers were scattered at different tables, eating and talking, and the aroma of cooking made Mama Chidi's stomach growl despite her exhaustion. She sat down, and a young Ghanaian girl brought her a menu, but Mama Chidi was looking toward the kitchen area where she could see someone cooking. The woman had her back turned, stirring a large pot of soup, her wrapper tied firmly around her waist in that distinctly Igbo way, her head tied a simple white cloth. Something about the shape of her shoulders, the way she moved her hands in that precise circular motion while staring, made Mama Chidi's heart start to beat faster. It was the exact way Ngozi used to stir her pot when she cooked for market meetings. Mama Chidi told herself she was being foolish. Grief makes you see the dead everywhere. She knew this, but she couldn't look away. Then the woman turned around to reach for something on the shelf, and Mama Chidi saw her face in profile. Time stopped. The sounds in the restaurant faded to nothing. Mama Chidi's vision narrowed to that one face, the same sloped nose, the same full lips, the same way of holding her head slightly tilted when she was concentrating. The woman turned fully, reaching for a bottle of palm oil on the counter, and that's when she saw it clearly under the kitchen's fluorescent light. The butterfly-shaped birthmark on the left side of her neck, the exact mark that Ngozi had always said was put there by angels when she was born. Mama Chidi's chair scraped loudly against the floor as she stood up suddenly, her whole body trembling. The other customers looked up, startled. The woman in the kitchen turned at the sound, and when her eyes met Mama Chidi's across the room, something impossible happened. The woman's, Ngozi's face, because it was Ngozi, it was unmistakably impossibly Ngozi, went completely still. Not surprised, not confused, but utterly peacefully still, like someone who had been waiting for this moment for a long time. A small, sad smile touched her lips, that same smile Mama Chidi had seen at 1,000 transactions in Ariaria market, and she mouthed something. Mama Chidi was sure, even across the distance, even with her heart pounding so hard she thought she might die right there, that Ngozi mouthed the words, "Tell them I'm okay."
Jesus Christ of Nazareth, is this not your market? Chioma Ofo, who died 5 years ago in Aba?
What in?
Yes, my sister, it is me. Tell them I'm okay.
And then Mama Chidi screamed, a sound that came from somewhere deep and primal, a sound of shock and grief and impossible recognition all mixed together. Ngozi Obiagu. The name tore from her throat like a prayer and a curse and a question all at once. Every customer in the restaurant turned to look at Mama Chidi, then turned to look at the woman in the kitchen. But the space where Ngozi had been standing was empty.
The pot was still on the stove, the bottle of palm oil she'd been reaching for was on the counter, the wooden spoon she'd been using lay on the floor as if it had just been dropped. But the woman, Ngozi, was gone. The Ghanaian waitress rushed forward, confused and frightened. "Auntie, are you okay? What is wrong?" Mama Chidi couldn't speak. She pointed at the kitchen with a shaking hand. The woman cooking, where did she go?" The waitress looked even more confused. "Madam, nobody is cooking. The owner, Auntie Mary, she left hours ago. I've been heating up the soup she made this morning. I was just in the kitchen 2 minutes ago to bring out your food and nobody was there." But Mama Chidi had seen her. She had looked directly into Ngozi's eyes. She had seen that birthmark clear as day. She pushed past the waitress and ran into the kitchen one more time, her legs barely holding her up. Empty. Just pots on the stove and ingredients on the counter and nobody there. The back door was closed and bolted from the inside. Nobody could have left through it. There was nowhere to hide in the small space. The other customers were murmuring now, some getting up to see what the commotion was about. "I saw her," Mama Chidi insisted, tears streaming down her face. "She was right here, stirring the pot. She spoke to me. She spoke to me." The waitress was getting nervous now, cheerily thinking this Nigerian woman had gone mad or was seeing things. She called her manager, a Ghanaian man who came from the back office looking annoyed. "What is this disturbance about?" he demanded. Mama Chidi tried to explain, but her words came out jumbled. "A dead woman, 5 years ago, fire in Aba, but I just saw her here. She was cooking. The birthmark, it was her. It was impossible, but it was her." The manager's face shifted from annoyance to understanding.